Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, head currency analyst. In this video I'm going to take you through pound US dollar as we are looking at the potential for price to move a little bit lower ahead of the Bank of England tomorrow. Now, what's interesting about the news tomorrow is that we're expecting a hike from the Bank of England. However, what we've seen recently is the RBA actually hiked interest rates, but they hiked interest rates by 50 basis points instead of 1% or 100 basis points, and we actually saw a negative reaction. So are we going to see something similar here with the pound? Now, obviously the Bank of England haven't hiked rates as aggressively, but still, if they're only going to hike by a small amount, is that suggesting that the hikes are slowing or potentially coming to an end? And if so, could that put a little bit of pressure on the pounds? Now, why is that so interesting? Well, at the moment, price is at a very important level. If we can look left here on this monthly chart, we can see that we have all this support in the past where prices made significant moves to the upside, and we're kind of trading within this overall range where price comes up towards the 142s, drops back to the downside, and we reject around about these 1.2s. Now, not only that, if I zoom right in and we just take a look at what's going on here, is that now we've approached this level, we've closed back within that month's range. The next candle's closed back within that month's range. That would suggest to me that we're actually going to see a bit more of a move to the upside. Okay, now we have to take that with a little bit of context, because just because I think that price may move back to the upside, number one, doesn't mean that it's going to. Number two, what are the conditions that we usually see at the turning points? Okay, so that's what I like to look at. If I look up here, for instance, or if I look down in here, what are the turning points in the market? What does the market look like at that point? So if I go to a daily chart, for instance, zoom up, we can see that, for instance, over here, we had a consolidation. You could argue that it was a mini head and shoulders pattern. Price dropped to the downside. Okay, what happened back here? Well, price found support and changed trend. We had higher highs, higher lows coming into the market. So we need to see something similar happen again here. And if I drop a little bit lower, I'll zoom in, we can see that price has formed a left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Okay, so to me that's saying, well, price has made a new higher high. Okay, dollar's looking a little bit on the stronger side of things at the moment, so the dollar could be a little bit stronger in the short term. And could that bring price back into some key interesting levels? Well, if we look at it from a pattern point of view, what you would expect from the market is for price to come back into a previous structure point. So we have the neckline of the pattern around about the 1.2 level, okay, or just a little bit higher, 1.220. And if the market is going to make that higher low, we could assume the higher low will come in at an area of support. So what we're basically looking for is where that higher low is going to come into play. Could it come into play down here, essentially, for a move back to the upside? Now, if that's the case, if the market's going to continually close in as a bearish close, could we assume that we're in the retracement phase of this daily move? If so, what we typically see is a trend appear on a 4-hour time frame. So, for instance, the market made an impulsive phase recently from this area. What do you notice about the trend? We can see that the market starts to make higher highs and higher lows. Okay, hits an area of resistance. What do we notice about the trend at the moment? Well, we're starting to see a little bit of a reversal form. The market is pushing in a lower high, lower low, lower high. Now we are finding a little bit of resistance here, a little bit of support in the market. Price has come down into this level today, started to bounce a little bit. Doesn't mean that price isn't going to continue to roll over, however. So what we're looking at here is the potential for price to continue to push to the downside in the very short term, until we get back down into this main area. Once we get back into this main area, we could drive higher. Now, the factor that could drive price into this level is that Bank of England. So the Bank of England announcement and a hike in line with the forecasts, we could see price drop down towards this 1.2 level in here, and then potentially look for some further upside at that point. So if you're looking at a short-term opportunity on pound, you can dive a little bit lower. You can have a little look at this hourly chart, for instance, because again you can see price making those lower lows, lower highs. Okay, what's quite interesting is up here we've had a lot of consolidation today, and then price expanded to the downside, or impulse to the downside. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if price came up and kind of retested this area in here, maybe back up at the 180s. Now if we were to get back up in here, and we were to see price form a little bit of bearish price action, we could look for some opportunities to the downside, targeting these lows first because they're the first points of support. If it continues to push down, we could look for our bigger area of resistance for an opportunity then for the opposite thing to happen. So you'd be looking for the change in trend on the 4-hour at that point, which will give you the option to look for opportunities. Okay, so keep an eye on the pound. It's going to be an interesting market to watch. We have the Bank of England tomorrow, so be aware that that is high impact data. So you want to be, if you are trading around that event, make sure you're doing it at a lower risk. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video update. If you did, leave the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel to see some more of our Forex trading content, and I'll catch you in the next video.